All right, this is one that most of you have been looking forward to. So the CCMA's doors are open again and accessible to members of the public. That was starting today, since shutting down for hearing face-to-face matters on March the 18th. So the number of people who will be granted permission to enter that building in the different provinces, of course, at any given time will be strictly monitored, and they will have to submit to compulsory screening. They must wear face masks, must apply hand sanitizer, and also adhere to applicable social distancing rules. So this while a spike in the number of cases is expected, either for unfair dismissals or due to companies being in distress or shutting down. The director of the CCMA, Cameron Sello Morajane, joins me now via Skype. A very good evening to you, Mr. Morajane. Thanks indeed for your time. Just a few moments ago, quite shocking, I was speaking to you and you were telling me that you have already, since the 1st of May, received complaints of about 2,114, and you're expecting that number to hike. Is that correct?
In fact, out of that number that you just quoted, we have about 63 of the large-scale dismissals, which then affect 21,206 people, right? Those are the numbers, and that is inclusive up to today. It's not even the end of the month yet. And with the numbers that you see and that you're hearing, we expect them to increase, because if I look at the major offices, particularly Johannesburg and Cape Town, you have people up to 350 to 500 in the queue. So those numbers are being loaded now and verified, because some of the few claims will be about UIF, but mainly it's the CCMA referrals and CCMA claims.
Is this unusually high, in particular, I guess, because of the period that we're in? There's a coronavirus outbreak, and we've seen many complaints through different fora of people complaining about being unfairly dismissed. Is this number unusually high for such a period?
Not really unusually high. It's because it's a build-up from the cases we could not take before the lockdown. So lockdown did actually cause them not to be received during that period. So as a result of that, they look like numbers that are absolutely unusual. But if you look at the period that we could not receive, it's almost the type of cases and numbers we'll get. But it's slightly more because of the type of disputes that we're getting, which includes, the payment of salaries not done, the deduction from salaries, people being forced to go on leave. And of course, now what really increases the numbers, which may qualify what you say about being unusual, it's because the number of the retrenchments have increased due to small companies closing down, for example, and the big companies also retrenching. So in as far as the retrenchment is concerned, it's going to be pretty unusual to see because of the lockdown.
Absolutely. And I know that you began opening your doors today to have, people come and queue at your offices. You did express alarm at the numbers, in particular in Johannesburg as well as the Western Cape. The Western Cape also a bit of concern, because the numbers there are extremely high in terms of COVID-19 infections. What processes have been put in place to ensure the safety of both the public as well as your employees who will be allowed back to work?
Number one, no one is allowed to enter our offices without a mask or a scarf. That's the first and important principle that we are applying with almost military precision, that you cannot enter our premises. Secondly, we have our scanners that we use to scan the thermostats to test the temperatures of people who are in our building. Secondly, you will not be allowed if you don't agree to being sanitized when you enter the building. And additionally, we have to strictly keep to the social distancing. And also what makes the queues a bit slower, it's because that we are also taking down the details of people who are entering our buildings, so that we make sure that if anyone is infected, they could be traced. You know, the 4 T's that the government is applying. We're doing exactly that. Inside the building, we're monitoring that people at all times remain with their face mask applied or used, so that we make sure that there is no cross-infection, either us infecting people or people infecting our staff. There is a process of objection that we have allowed, that if you feel that you want to object to wearing a mask or being sanitized, then you can do that by submitting a written objection. But obviously you will not be allowed, because that in itself is suspicious on why you wouldn't want to exercise the normal health and safety requirements that are expected in the country and in the world. So these are the instruments that we've put in place.
Mr. Morajane, were you able to tell which particular sector has a majority of the complaints at this stage?
Yes. Number one, it is the business and professional sector. It is immediately followed by retail sector. And thirdly, it is the safety and security, which is the private security. And lastly in the list is the food and beverage, which is the last one in terms of the sectors that are directly affected.
All right. So it seems those particular sectors, in terms of the numbers that have come through to the CCMA, or the complaints thus far that have come through to your offices, affect in the majority of those particular sectors. I understand as well that there were people queuing outside your offices from as early as 5 o'clock this morning. How possible is it, though, to attend to those hundreds that are in those queues by at least, say, 10 o'clock in the morning, as I understand that you're only able to operate at 50% as per the lockdown rules currently?
Thank you for that question. And allow me to express my sincere appreciation to the staff of the CCMA, our interpreters, our case management officers, and we have been ably supported also by our staff association, who also made it a point that we ensure that our queues are attended and also that people are safe. We spend almost 10 or so minutes per person in the process, in trying to process that. And as a result of that, our queues were quite slower. I mean, if you queue from 5 o'clock in the morning and then having to attend everybody before the close of business, it was really a tough call. And our people were quite patient and they worked diligently. And I'm very grateful to them because they worked with speed. Some did not go to lunch because they understood the pains that people were going through. Because if somebody can wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and be at our offices at 5 o'clock in the morning and standing the whole time until you are assisted, it's really a serious issue. And our staff have responded very well to that. They've done their absolute best to make sure that they serve everybody with speed. And we have given preferences to people who are pregnant, people who the elderly who were standing in the queue. And we were trying to obtain chairs, for example, for people to stand on, because when you are dismissed, hungry, thirsty, and still stand in a queue for that long, it's quite a painful sight to see. It's very depressing. But I'm very impressed with the speed that my team has put together in all the provinces. Even the hearings that started on Monday, because the numbers that you see and the referrals does not actually include the cases that were set down effective from the 18th and yesterday. And when we did that, people were very disciplined. They followed all our instructions because they understood what we were about. But that motivated our staff to work with respect, with dignity and speed. And to that, I'm very grateful that they did that. And we managed to serve everybody by the close of business today.
Mr. Morajane, we're really running out of time, but I've had so many tweets regarding this particular issue. Can the CCMA give assurance that, most people who feel that they're queuing outside your buildings because they've been unfairly dismissed, they've been not been paid their salaries, they've just been told to pack up and go because the company simply cannot operate due to what has taken place during the lockdown, that all of these would be attended to?
I can give you my absolute promise, because not only is this a statutory responsibility, it is a constitutional responsibility to fair labor practices. If we cannot serve them, where else can they go? I want to say to the members of the public, the CCMA is there for you. We will definitely make sure that each and every one of you who is at our offices, 24 of our offices, you will be attended to with respect and with speed.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm afraid we've run out of time. The director of the CCMA, Cameron Sello Morajane, telling us there that from the 1st of May, they already received complaints of 2,114. And some of the sectors that are affected in terms of the numbers that have come through in terms of complaints include the retail sector, the food and beverage sector, and they're expecting those numbers to rise as they've, of course, just opened their doors today to have members of the public come through to their offices. Thank you very much indeed, sir, for your time.